Almost exactly 10 years ago came the release of Dead Space by Visceral Games and EA. Ah, the good old days, before EA discovered microtransactions and was actually somewhat respectable. Too bad they didn't spare Dead Space 3 though. But even all this time later, I'm sure nobody has forgotten their journey through the USG Ishimura, going from objective to objective while the murderous necromorph aliens try to bite your head off. Dead Space is pretty much the illegitimate child of Alien and Resident Evil 4. So like if Leon Kennedy had a space adventure with facehuggers. With this idea that is beyond strange, how was Visceral Games able to craft such a suspenseful adventure that had us on the edge of our seat for every single second of its 8-hour runtime? The answer is surprisingly simple: conditioning.
Who's going to do it? Engineers.
That's who.
That's what I want to do.
Be an engineer.
2 hours later.
The late and great Alfred Hitchcock once said in an interview the difference between surprise and suspense. He gave the example of two characters having a discussion in a room. During their conversation, a bomb randomly explodes. That's a surprise, but only affects the audience for the following 15 seconds. Suspense, however, would be if we knew there was a bomb and when it would go off, but the characters didn't. So we're on the edge of our seat for 15 minutes hoping they'll survive the ordeal. There are plenty of quote-unquote horror games that are just endless jump scare fests, but what Dead Space does so well is ramp up the suspense. It does this through conditioning the player from the get-go to expect certain things from the world around them. We know the scare is coming eventually, it's only a matter of when. This example is perhaps the easiest, lowest hanging fruit I can pull, but I'm just introducing this idea of conditioning, so bear with me. The necromorphs. Immediately upon arrival, we get attacked by loads of them, so when we see one that doesn't attack, our guard is up. We approach with caution. Something is definitely happening. We're left hanging in suspense until... As a side note, Dead Space uses a ton of misdirection, drawing the player's attention to one spot while the true attack comes from somewhere else.
Happy feet, wombo combo.
That ain't Falco.
That ain't Falco.
But this is just a byproduct of being conditioned to fear certain things, like, of course, the oh-so-dreaded vents that line the halls of the Ishimura where necromorphs commonly pop out. We, the players, have to survive such attacks from the very start of the game. Because we adjust ourselves to be ready for whatever the vents throw at us, for the entirety of Dead Space, it becomes impossible to casually walk past one. No matter when or where, we always step cautiously towards them with the plasma cutter drawn. There's never a sense of safety. This is the true mark of a good horror game, when the player is terrified even when nothing is happening. The horror has been implanted in our minds so much to the point when we don't trust anything. When the game has tormented us so much that it stops having to even try. We just assume the pain is coming, even when it's not. We're inflicting the pain on ourselves. Another good example here would be the elevators. We all remember this clip, right? This is our very first run-in with the necromorph, yes, but also with an elevator. So off the bat, we don't trust them. I mean, look at it. Look at it. Isaac is stuck in a small enclosed space where he's captive for the entire ride. He is such an easy meal for any hungry aliens who may be chilling nearby. So every time you walk into an elevator, it's guns drawn ready for action. After a whole 7 chapters of pure nothing happening, the player's guard goes down, and that's when Dead Space decides to strike. The game penalizes you for letting your guard down, and finally takes advantage of the easy meal that is Isaac in an elevator. By now, I've gone over ambushes, vents, and elevators, but anyone who's played Dead Space knows very well that the conditioning doesn't end there. Of course, I have to leave the best for last, the Infectors. By the end of Chapter 2, the player has already had to deal with a lot. Towards the end of the level in the morgue, we're searching for the dead captain's rig when this happens. Yeah, that just happened. The many dead bodies you find can now be turned into one of the game's deadliest enemies, enhanced slashers. This is the single moment in Dead Space that drives the player mad. Although infectors are very rare as far as necromorphs go, their presence lingers over our minds for the rest of the game. Rooms full of corpses become the most dreaded sight, because you still fear the possibility that an infector will come around. A few times they do, but most times they don't. Not wanting to deal with the 1% chance of waves of these extra deadly enemies, the player is conditioned to run around, smashing every human corpse they find. Isaac looks like a madman, going from body to body hacking off limbs, but this is the decision Dead Space subtly drives you into. In a single moment, the player is conditioned to despise corpses. It's brilliant how the game can terrify the player by just showing them something as small and unimportant as a dead human body. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend Dead Space is my favorite game or the scariest, but I do think it's still important to recognize how well it did at providing a sense of tension and suspense, even when a whole lot of nothing is happening on screen. That's because it was an intelligently crafted horror that conditions the player to fear even the smallest details, like quick elevator rides that get you from point A to point B, vents, and the endless supply of corpses on the Ishimura. Just with the knowledge that something could happen, possibly maybe not likely, we decide to act in such irrational ways, putting us directly into the shoes of Isaac, who is slowly being driven insane during his journey, even going as far as to hallucinate his dead girlfriend. So Dead Space isn't like many other games with insane protagonists who see visuals or have some sign of their own insanity. No. You, the player's actions and your irrational fears are the signs of Isaac's worsening dementia, which is why Dead Space works so well as a game. It uses interactivity to progress, or really regress, its main character. So through conditioning, Dead Space gave us fears that would haunt us more than any of the necromorphs could, which is what made it work as a horror game, getting the player to go as insane as Isaac. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, to please leave a like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. See you next time.